What's going on, everyone? Welcome into NBA Weekly. Welcome into the month of August, everyone. We're into the final third here of the summer. Also one of the more boring NBA months, but I guarantee you nothing's going to be boring about the end of the summer here for the association. We have a ton of news and rumors to go over. Then later I'll be breaking down my top 10 shooting guards going into next season so we can finally put this to bed. Carmelo Anthony has officially signed with the Houston Rockets. He's signing a one-year, $2.4 million deal with the Rockets. That's the veteran minimum, but it doesn't matter because he already got $27.8 million from the Hawks. He was officially waived on Wednesday, had to wait 48 hours to sign, and now he's officially a member of the Houston Rockets. But as I've brought up multiple times on this program, I am still not convinced at all that Melo is going to be the answer for the Rockets in terms of beating the Warriors. What has he shown, not even just last year with the Thunder, what has he shown even his last 2 years with the Knicks, that he is willing to be anything, more than the bad, inefficient, terrible defensive player that he's been over the past 3 to 4 years of his career? He has shown no wanting to even come off the bench. And I understand that he thinks of himself as Carmelo Anthony and, I'm this NBA superstar. Like, that's the issue though, Melo. Like, you're not that superstar anymore. Like, we're multiple years past you being the same Carmelo Anthony. Now, I'm hoping that the Rockets can bring back maybe the U.S. Olympic team version of Melo, where he's not a primary ball handler. He's a better catch and shooter. He can hit corner threes. But at this point, it doesn't seem like Melo is at all interested in being a role player. He wants to be the primary reason that a team wins basketball games. And he's going to learn very quickly that on this Houston Rockets team, it doesn't go through him. It goes through James Harden. It goes through Chris Paul. And he is strictly a role player. And now he's going back with Mike D'Antoni as well. I am very worried that Carmelo Anthony is going to not ruin this Rockets team, but there is no way that they're going to be as good as they were last year. The team is worse from a roster standpoint than they were last season. They aren't the same defensive basketball team that they were. They're still in the trade market for some wings. We'll get into that a little bit later, but you just have to wonder, how much does Carmelo Anthony have left in the tank as an impactful NBA player? Because look, you could have left him in Atlanta and he could have jacked up 25 shots a night and still put up some points, but he is now being a part of one of the elite teams in the NBA, one of the only teams of basketball with the potential to take down the Golden State Warriors. I really don't think he's going to end up being the guy that can do it. I mean, God forbid he's the one that has to guard Kevin Durant in the playoffs. That'll be one of the funniest things that we see in the entire NBA season next year. But let me know in the comment section if you think Melo makes the Rockets a better team. All right, let's go to our next piece of news here. J.R. Smith is apparently being investigated by the New York Police Department because he reportedly stole a man's phone coming out of a bar one night and threw it into a construction site. Now, based off of the NBA Finals, I don't think anyone thought that J.R. Smith had that level of accuracy, but that's just impressive all around. I mean, this is just another day in the life for J.R. Smith. Just another classic example of him being one of the most outrageous NBA players that we have ever had. And hey, at least he didn't throw a bowl of soup again like he did, way back during the season. But this whole J.R. Smith year of 2018 has been a cataclysm of hilarious events. Whether it was obviously forgetting to score in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, whether it was throwing a bowl of soup at an assistant coach, now he's throwing a dude's phone into a construction site. Like, this is just a total crap show for J.R. Smith. And now the Rockets are reportedly interested in trading for him for God knows what reason they would want J.R. Smith on their basketball team. But we'll see what happens with J.R. Smith in the NYPD. But he's in a little bit of trouble. You can't just be stealing people's phones and throwing them around. Like, that's just not a thing you can do anymore. People get in trouble for smacking people's phones out of their hands, let alone throwing them into a construction site. So we'll keep you updated on what goes on with J.R. Smith, but as of right now, it is not pretty at all. Let's go to some good news. The Pacers have given their head coach an extension. Nate McMillan, given a multi-year extension, will keep him in Indiana until after 2020. Look, very deserving. Was one of the better new coaches in the NBA last year. Team was really tough to beat all year long, especially in the playoffs. I mean, hey, you bring LeBron James to 7 games in an Eastern Conference playoff series, especially a first-round series, you deserve credit. And I know it's kind of funny that just bringing LeBron to a 7-game series in the first round is worthy of an extension, but in a lot of ways, he is deserving. I mean, he helped turn Victor Oladipo into a superstar. The defense on this team was so stout last year. Their bench going into this year has a lot of great new pieces. I'm excited for what the Pacers are going to bring to the table. I know that John Wall was talking about how the East is wide open, and it is if you're not the Wizards. I mean, if you're the Pacers, you could very easily fight for a 3 seed this year. I mean, I know that we're just kind of handing the top 3 seeds in the East to the Raptors, the Celtics, and the 76ers, but look, before the Sixers' crazy win streak to end the season last year, I mean, they were a 500 basketball team for most of last season. And I know another year of Ben Simmons, another year of Embiid, and that roster is quite talented, but there is still a possibility that the 76ers underperformed this year. I mean, they had a terrible offseason. They had all this cap space, max slots for days, and their biggest free agency move or their biggest offseason move was trading for Wilson Chandler. The Pacers bench added Tyreek Evans and Doug McDermott and is returning the same starting 5 that they did last year. So I understand the 76ers are a great team, but the Pacers are going to make a run for that 3 seed behind the Celtics and the Raptors. And McMillan seems to be the right guy to lead them there. It's going to be a really fun year for the Eastern Conference with LeBron James moving to the Lakers. Speaking of such, John Wall agrees with me, saying that the East is more wide open now that LeBron is out of the picture. But look, the East is definitely open. Absolutely wide open. You know, LeBron obviously, has made the NBA Finals 8 straight years in the Eastern Conference. He's now gone, so a new team is going to have to step up. But, I mean, you can make a really solid argument that the Washington Wizards don't even have one of the 5 best rosters in the conference right now. And that is very bad. Like, the East overall has 3 very good teams, or 4 good teams overall. They have the Celtics, the Raptors as the 2 elite teams, the 76ers in kind of a tier of their own in the tier 2. Tier 3, you have the Pacers as well, and then as well as the Bucks with Giannis. And then you have this next tier of teams, which is like the Wizards, the Pistons, and the Heat, who just have these weird rosters that have an equally a chance of working as they do completely failing. So the Wizards, their starting lineup is pretty good. Obviously, you got Wall, you have Beal, and Otto Porter, but the rest of the roster is really going to determine whether or not they actually make a run this year. I mean, what are you going to get out of Dwight Howard? Is Markieff Morris going to be able to have a good season? What is their bench going to look like? Is Kelly Oubre finally going to take that next step for the Wizards? So they have a lot of questions overall on this roster. I'm not convinced that the Wizards are going to be a top 5 team in the East this year. I actually have them ranked as my 6th ranked team in the East, and we'll get to my overall Eastern Conference rankings in just a second. But let me know in the comment section first, who do you guys think is going to win the East? I think it's the Celtics. I think it's the Celtics far and away. They have, without a question, the best roster. They have the best coach. They have the best starting 5. They don't have the best player. I mean, if Kawhi Leonard is healthy, the Raptors have the best player in the conference, but the Celtics have the best team and the best starting 5. So I think they're going to win. And if you look at my Eastern Conference rankings, I show that I have the Celtics coming in first, Raptors 2, 76ers 3, Pacers 4, Bucks 5, and then the back half going into the lottery teams, Wizards 6, Pistons 7, Heat 8, Knicks 9, and the Cavs at 10. I do not think that the Cavs, even with adding David and Nwaba, are not going to be a playoff team this year. The Cavs are going to be one of the weirdest teams in all of basketball next year. They're going to have Kevin Love averaging like 23 and 12 a night and no one else on the team doing anything. And then obviously the back end of the East here, Bulls at 11, Nets 12, Hornets 13, Hawks 14, and Magic 15. So the Eastern Conference is going to be really interesting this year with LeBron gone. I think that top 3 is set, but the Pacers and Bucks are going to make a run for one of the top 3 seeds. I just don't see the Wizards being a really impactful team this year. They'll make it to the playoffs, sure, but most likely another first-round exit for the Wizards. This team, especially with Scott Brooks, who I do not like as a coach, they just don't really have that extra punch that the Raptors, the Sixers, and the Celtics can bring. So Wizards, for me, 5th best team, or 6th best team, I should say, right now in the East. So that's going to do for our NBA news today. Let's get into some rumors, because there's a lot of stuff swirling around the association today. And we're going to start with the Dallas Mavericks and the fact that, we were supposed to have a sexual harassment report today, at least, according to Adam Silver. That report was supposed to be done by the end of July, and Just going to check my old watch here. It's August 2nd, and we haven't heard a single peep about this. Now, this may have been, kind of brushed under the rug because, we've had a crazy offseason with LeBron going to the Lakers and, what we reported going on with the Warriors locker room. And I understand people forget about stuff that happens pretty quickly. It's the modern day social media. It's how things work. But this is not something that can be swept under the rug. This cannot be something that just gets covered up. This was a massive investigation. Sports Illustrated, when they brought this out, this was a 20-year-long thing that was going on in the Dallas Mavericks front office. This wasn't just some small little itty-bitty thing. This was a massive expose that they exposed inside of the Dallas Mavericks front office. All this stuff went down. They fired their team reporter. They lost the president. Oh, this and that. And then we were supposed to get a full report on it by the end of July, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I'm calling you out, Dallas Mavericks. Give us this report. We want to know what exactly went on with these sexual harassment reports. How deep did this go? Who knew about it? And who is responsible? Because if Mark Cuban is found out to be responsible in this, he needs to be brought to light and he needs to get punished for knowing about it and not reporting if he did know about it. So we want this report. I'm going to stay on the Dallas Mavericks on this program about getting this report out until we get it, because it is ridiculous that they have just tried to push this under the rug. I get it. We're only a couple days out of July, but this is not something that can just be swept under the rug. When we're talking about sexual harassment or domestic violence, no longer is this stuff just going to be left alone. We saw yesterday with the whole Urban Meyer stuff, people take this stuff seriously now. So we're going to take this as seriously as anything. Dallas Mavericks, give us this sexual harassment report. Until you do not, we will continue to apply pressure. We want this report. I want to know what exactly was going on with that front office, especially if Mark Cuban knew about this stuff and chose to ignore it and not report it. So Mavericks, give us the report, and we'll give you guys updates as we continue to go through the next couple of weeks.